Okay, so our first video is on 13.3 and it's called Experimental Probability. Some of this you've done last year. The second half is probably new this year. So just have a look at this. You need to write the heading, but you don't need to write this example down. Just have a follow. So a coin is tossed 30 times and the results are recorded. So we toss a coin, we get 8 heads and we get 12 tails. So that's in fact 20 times, not 30 times, because I've gone 8 plus 12 is 20. So these are the things you have to be able to work out. So the frequency of heads means how many heads there were. So there were 8 from our table. How many tails? There were 12. And the total, so we add those two together, is 20. And we want that to equal what we said it was going to be, which is in fact 20, not 30. Now today we are going to recap what we did last year, and this is called relative frequency. So the relative frequency, for instance, of obtaining a head is the frequency of the outcome. So frequency, how often did you get a head? Because that's what the question is asking, divided by the total. So if you come back up here, how many heads did we get? We got 8. And how many were all together? There were 20. So that can be an answer, but why is that not good enough? Hopefully you're all saying, well, it's not in its simplest form. So you can find the biggest number that goes into both of those. You can use your calculator and it will spit out the answer. Or because they're both even, you could halve them. And then you could halve them again because we still can go simpler. So the answer is 2 divided by 5. So another one of those, here's another one. Let's have a look. The relative frequency of event 1. Now, what do we not have in here that we need? When you think of the other one, we have each. Event 1 happening is 8. It doesn't matter what event 1 is. Event 2, you get 12 of those. And event 3, there's 10 of those. What we don't have is what they all add up to. And you have to have that because that goes on the bottom of the fraction. So we're going to have 8 plus 12 is 20. Plus 10. So we've done this event, or these events, 30 times. So that's just an extra thing you might have to work out if it's not given to you. So relative frequency of event 1 is event 1 on the top divided by the total on the bottom. So event 1, if we go to our table, we've got an 8 and total is 30. And if we divide both those by 2, or if we put it in our calculator, you'll get 4/15. What does that mean? It means out of 15 goes, event 1 will come up 4 times. Okay, let's do number 2. Event 2 is going to be on the top. So this time it's 12 times. So it's more probable that you're going to go get event 2. The total is still 30. It's always the same. And if we divide, let's do it the different way. Divide by the biggest number you can. So what goes into that? What's the biggest number that goes into both of those? Perhaps it's 6. 6 into 12 goes 2 times and 6 into 30 goes 5 times. So it's 2/5 chance of getting event 2. And event 3 is 10 divided by total is 30, which is 1/3. Now, if you're no good at this, remember you can put it into your calculator and it will give us the answer. Okay, what we're going to do now, it says, what do the 3 frequencies add up to? Okay, and we're going to go back to when they weren't simplified. So we've got 8 over 30 plus 12 over 30 plus 10 over 30. Now, if we're going to add them all up, hopefully you're seeing we're just adding up this total. So we should get 30 out of 30, which is, of course, 1 whole. And this says, why is this? Because all your frequencies added up should always equal 1. If they don't, it means you've made a mistake somewhere. All right, so this was what we did last year. It's okay if you don't remember because you're going to get some practice. Now, what you need to think about here is doing some decimals to percentages, okay, because that's going to happen in this question. So we have a fraction. If you put that into your calculator, or you just know anyway, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. So that's what it is in decimal. And to make it a percentage, you're multiplying by 100. So you can either multiply by 100 or you can move your dot 2 spots. That's what multiplying by 100 means. So that would be a percentage of 50. Okay, 4 divided by 5. If you put that in your calculator, you'll get 0.8. And if you multiply that by 100 or move the decimal places 2 spots, you'll get 80%. All right, the next one, 3 over 20. If you put that into your calculator, you will get 0.15. And if you move the decimal spot 2 spots, you will get 15%. I would like you to do these two, please. This is a really good thing to write down. So I would suggest that you write down this table and fill these out. When we come back into class, we will discuss what answers you got. All right, so let's have a look at one more question you might get. You don't need to write this out. Okay, you need to understand how it goes and come back to the video if you need help when you get a question like this, or ask your teacher. Your die was rolled 150 times and the results were recorded. So what does this mean? This means a 1 came up. That happened 28 times. A 2 came up. That happened 22 times. So if you're thinking, what actually did you do? You sat there, you rolled a dice 150 times, and this is the information that you got. Okay, name the outcomes that make up the following. So make sure you read the question properly when you're doing this. You don't have to work out any information at this stage. You just have to write down what you could possibly get. So an even number, we're looking at the red. So you could get, to be part of this group, a 2, a 4, or a 6. You can't get an 8 because it's not part of the group, and you can't get a 3 because it's not an even number. Okay, a number that is greater than or equal to 2. So that does include 2. And what are the other numbers greater than that? 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can't have 10 because 10 is not in that group. You can't have 1 because 1 is not greater than or equal to 2. A prime number. So we have to remember these things. What is a prime number? A prime number is a number that is multiplied by only itself and 1. And you could Google this and get the list, or you could think about it. So 2, 1 is not a prime number. 3 can only be divided by itself and 1. 4 can be divided by 2, so that's not 1. And 5 is a prime number. Okay, so we are naming the outcomes, not working out any maths. A multiple of 3. So multiples are start at the number and add that. So 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, but in this case, we only have 3 and 6 because our numbers stop at 6. And a number 5 or more. So 5 is included and 6 is included, and we stop because there's nothing greater than that. Now, from what we did today, express the relative frequency of rolling a 2 as a fraction, a decimal, and a percentage. Okay, so what is, first of all, the probability of rolling a 2? So what chance do you have? So on the top goes, how many 2s are there? So in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are the possible outcomes. It is 1. We only have 1, 2 in that group. How many are there altogether? There are 6 possibilities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now that's our fraction. We want to put that into our calculator to get a decimal answer. So we want to change that to a decimal answer, which I'll also get you to do. And then we're going to multiply that by 100 so that we get it as a fraction. As a percentage. So that, and we will come back and do that together as a class. Okay, what was the relative frequency of non-prime numbers? So we have to work out what the non-prime numbers are. So 1 is not a prime number, 2 is, 3 is, 4 is not a prime, 5 is, 6 is not a prime. So how many of these are there? Okay. In this case, there are 3. So for this one, we want to go to our data Okay, sorry, this is the standard way, but now because we have this data, sorry, I've made a mistake, we want to look up and see what the probability actually of getting a 2 was. So here's a 2, how many were there? So the first bit's fine, but for this actual data, so for the data that we've got, we're going to go 22, because there's 22 of them, out of, what was the total? There was a total of 150. So that's our fraction. I would like you to please simplify it. Then I want you to change it to a decimal. And then I want you to change it to a percentage. And we will come back in class once the video is finished and discuss this. So a 1, 4, and a 6. So let's have a look. Number 1, there were 28. Number 4, there were 27. And the number 6, there were 20. So altogether, the probability of a 1, 4, and 6 were, you can put it into your calculator quickly while I use my brain, 20, 40, 60, 8, 75, okay, divided by, how many were there altogether? 150. So then this is going to be half. So that's as a fraction. We've done it before. We said that that as a decimal is 0.5 or 0.5. And as a percentage, multiply it by 100 and you'll get 50%. All right. A couple more little questions you might be asked. Which number is most likely to occur using just this evidence? You can get that from the table. So which is the highest number here? The highest number is 3. So the one that's most likely to occur, most likely, will be 3. Okay, and the last one, if you rolled the dice 200 times, how many times would you expect to roll a 2? Okay, using this data. Now, this is a tricky one too. So first of all, we have to go back to this question over here and we can use maybe the decimal that you found. I would like you to use this decimal that you found. So probability of getting a 2 is equal to what? As the probabilities from over here, the decimal answer that you got. And all you have to do is multiply that by how many times it's talking about. So the probability of getting a 2 in 200 rolls is going to be this decimal place multiplied by 200. Now I'd love you to get an answer for that. We're going to come back when everyone's done with the video and we're going to go through that answer. Okay, once we've done that, this is on your lesson plan 13.3, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 and 14. Please stay in class with me and you can ask me steps along the way once we've gone through those answers. Thank you.